Welcome to CNN 10 on this November 6th. It is the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, and that, according to a law established in 1845, makes it Election Day in America. Of course, many Americans have already cast their ballots in early voting, but many more will be lined up at polling places across the country today to decide the results of the midterm elections. They're called that because they happen in the middle of a president's term. But why the first Tuesday after the first Monday? That has to do with farming. In the mid-1800s, most Americans did that, and they didn't live near a voting place. Because of the time it took them to travel, and because of scheduling conflicts at times like Market Day and during the planting and harvest seasons, Congress picked a Tuesday in November for its convenience, and that's when elections have been held ever since. Flash forward to now, and while society and the way people cast their ballots have changed, they'll be deciding on many of the same positions. Who will serve dozens of U.S. states as governor? Who will represent Americans in the U.S. House of Representatives? Who will fill about a third of the seats up for election in the Senate? And who will get thousands of available state and local political jobs? Campaigning was in full swing right up to the 11th hour.
We know every day with every knock what we're fighting for. Dignity and decency for our families, education, health care, the environment, voting rights, civil rights, equal rights, human rights.
It's a choice between what you voted for in 2016, to rebuild this country, to make America strong again, to make America prosperous again, to make America safe again, and yes, to make America great again. That's what we voted for.
Of course, no one knows yet what the midterm results will be. We will have an update for you in tomorrow's show. But regardless of where you or your community stands politically, there's a tool you can use to forecast how the vote could go.
Oh, hello. I'm Harry Anton, and I'm here to talk with you about the forecast. It's a new tool that CNN is launching. What we're trying to accomplish is fairly simple. We're trying to forecast each of the 435 House races, as well as each of the 35 Senate races that are up for grabs. When you go to the CNN House page, you'll notice a number of different features that are on there. I think one of the coolest things that you'll see is that you'll be able, if you want a specific race or you know your specific address, you can look it up. You can go there and you can click and you can actually see an estimate. But let's go back to the overall page. You'll see a number of interesting features on there, including we'll have a most likely scenario, that is what we think is going to happen, but there's also a wide margin of error around that estimate. The reason we have this margin of error is because we've tested this model throughout different election cycles, and we're trying to give you the most accurate assessment, not just of where the race is, but where our uncertainty is as well. You'll also notice a forecast map. So we'll have all 435 House districts on here. If you were to click on an individual district page, you'll see, again, what I think are a number of cool different things on there. You'll see an estimate, you'll see a margin of error, but more than that, if you go down to the bottom, you can learn a lot about the districts themselves. You can learn about how they voted in the past presidential election, how they voted in the last House election, something that we're calling their weighted average partisanship, which is essentially taking into account all these different elections over the last 6 years to give you an understanding whether or not this is a Democratic-leaning district or Republican-leaning district. Finally, you can see the demographics within each district. You can see how rural or urban they are. You can see how white or non-white they are. You can also see the education level.
The United States is turning up the heat on Iran, and the Middle Eastern nation is responding with defiance. This is over an international nuclear deal that was reached in 2015. It was made between Iran and 6 other countries led by the U.S. under the Obama administration. Iran agreed to limit its controversial nuclear program, at least temporarily, and allow international inspectors to make sure the country was doing it. In exchange, the U.S., along with China, the European Union, France, Germany, Russia, and the United Kingdom, they all agreed to remove penalties on Iran that were hurting the nation's economy. Supporters of the deal say it helped prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Critics say it didn't go far enough in doing that, and that it didn't address other actions of the Middle Eastern nation, like its growing missile program. U.S. President Donald Trump, who's repeatedly called the agreement the worst deal ever, has put America's penalties on Iran back in place. The latest action on that was taken Monday. The new sanctions, the penalties, are expected to hurt Iran's economy and its important oil industry. And the Trump administration says the goal is to stop Iran from taking actions that the U.S. blames for destabilizing the Middle East. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says his nation will, quote, proudly break the unjust sanctions. He called the U.S. action bullying and said it would hurt ordinary people. Most of the other nations involved in the 2015 deal look like they're going to stick with it. The European countries say it's working and that it's important for global security. The White House says more sanctions on Iran are possible in the days ahead. 10-second trivia. Which of these technological inventions first became available to the public in 2007? iPhone, YouTube, smartwatch, or Facebook? It was the iPhone that was first launched in 2007, and it was the blueprint for the smartphone as we know it. More than 10 years later, the presence of smartphones has impacted millions in expected and some unexpected ways. Just like there was a day when people only dreamed of having email, social media, and movies on a pocket computer, there was a day when some never dreamed there'd be something called nomophobia, a term for no mobile phone phobia, a way to describe smartphone addiction. And while the technology has improved dramatically in a short amount of time, it's brought concerns about how the brain responds to notifications or messages and what kinds of effect this technology is having on our attention spans. Some young adults that CNN spoke to said face-to-face communication has been affected.
I definitely think that cell phones are impacting millennials or just young people's ability to enjoy face-to-face moments. It's so much easier to text someone than to even call them right now. Like, calling someone is crazy. These days when you call someone, it's like, what are you doing? Like, this should be illegal. You're encroaching on my space.
I think millennials are going to have issues with being able to make eye contact and talking to others, but I also have seen a lot of millennials that have done great things and can do those things. I think that is just what will set you apart as a millennial.
I think with cell phones, there's pros and cons. On the one hand, it helps bring people, it helps people stay connected and tuned in, even when they're thousands of miles away or halfway across the world from each other. But at the same time, also threatens that face-to-face contact and ability to build closer relationships.
I definitely think it's going to impact the way that the future generation connects and communicates with each other in real life. And empathy, empathy comes not through phones, it's through being with each other and understanding each other in a real way. And so it's kind of scary to think that that the future generation won't get those cues that you get when you see someone face to face.
We're uniting ourselves virtually and digitally, but that's kind of a facade. We unite ourselves on a platform, and on the digital platform, which is great and can be great because you can keep touch with people on the other side of the planet with ease, but at the same time, we almost ignore our neighbors in real time that are walking right by us. I mean, you look down the street, everyone's walking with their phones, but we are so distracted by this instrument that we stop paying attention to the real world, whether it's traffic laws or whether it's just social standards, I guess. The less communication and the less face-to-face interaction, the less even physical contact perhaps that we have with people, the easier it is for us to create, to feel that we're different and to feel that we're separated from somebody else.
In the Maldives, an island chain in the Indian Ocean, a place has just opened that allows you to sleep under the sea. It's a 2-level hotel. It comes with a butler and a chef. It includes an infinity pool just above the water and a master suite about 16 feet below it where sharks will swim overhead as you fall asleep. Or try. But some folks will find it a little on the pricey side. A 4-night stay costs $200,000. And that's a little high considering the place is a dive. Your friends might wonder, what are you thinking? They'll see red if you spend that much green for a night in the blue, but as long as you're not claustro-aquaphobic and you don't mind shelling out a couple 100,000 clams, it takes some piratical willpower not to call them and hotel them all about it. I'm Carl Azus, and that's CNN 10.